It works. Just a little look back at 2016. On one of the BA forums, there was quite an interesting discussion about a number of clear nights that different observers had around the country. So I thought it might be interesting just to plot around the country and see who had the best skies. So starting in the southeast, Peter Carson. I don't know if Peter's here today. Yes, Peter's crossing. Good. And one of the things that's noted, or I noted anyway, was that different people have different ways of counting clear nights. Now, whether it's or clear dates, whether it's the same day or same night or whatever, then there can be a little bit of confusion there. But Peter had 99 clear dates in 2016, and January, February and August were the best nights for him. June was the worst, and he made the most observations in November. As I said, this is a PC, so. Next up was Tim Hames, who lives near Reading. Now, Tim doesn't actually keep regular observing stats about how many clear nights he has. I don't know how many people do. Do everybody in the room keep regular stats on their clear nights? Just a few. Perhaps something we should do more often. I don't either, so don't worry. Tim said his best month was November in terms of clear nights, and he did quite a lot of observations in January, February, March and November. Next up is David Boyd. I didn't have a picture of David, so I just had to use this star instead. Even going and Googling David Boyd on the web doesn't bring up very many pictures of David, so he obviously keeps a low profile. Anyway, David, as you know, was near Newbury, and said that 2016 has been the best year as far as usable nights for observing is concerned since 2007, which was quite remarkable, really. 121 out of 267 available nights of observing. Best months were August and September. May and October and November were all good ones as well. January was the worst. Next up, Gary Poyner, obviously one of our most prolific observers. He had 33 clear nights, he says, in Birmingham. 62 partially clear, so he had a total of 95 observable nights. 37 of those were under moonlight, and he missed 10 nights due to various reasons. He didn't elaborate on what those reasons were, but you can use your own imaginations. Jeremy had 109 nights observing, so in his presidential year, that's obviously didn't impact on his observing. So a little below my average, he said, over the last 12 years of 118. Best month was March, and worst was June. So it seems like June has been pretty poor for everyone, though being middle of the year, I guess it's not an awful lot of dark sky available at that time of year. And yes, we'll head up to the very far north of Scotland to Dennis Basinski at Tarbert Ness near Port Mahomack. This is roughly where it is, right at the top there. And Dennis, maybe surprisingly, maybe not, got 100 clear nights over 10 months of 2016, discarding June and July because it never gets dark properly up at 58 degrees north. So that was the kind of profile of people that reported them on the forum. Obviously 2016 was a really good year for observing, and let's hope that 2017 will be as well. Moving on to more topical things, the sun at the moment isn't really doing very much. There's a couple of small sunspot groups heading off, and there's one or two just appearing. No real major activity though. This was a SOHO image from yesterday. And this is a couple of pictures of those sunspot groups taken by Ron Johnson. A lot of these images, as Nick said last month, have come from the members' pages of the BA website, which is an excellent resource now for finding the sort of up-to-minute observations that members are doing. This is, unusually, this is one of my photographs, and this is indeed a photograph. This is a solar graph which I constructed at the Cheltenham Science Festival last June and set up on the south side of my house, pointing south, and took it down just after solstice in December, and took the piece of paper, photographic paper, out of the camera, and then you just scan it, and this is the end result. So it shows the passage of the sun across the sky over the 6 months from solstice to solstice, more or less. So it was a really interesting experiment to do, and I really need to make a bigger camera, so that's one of my next jobs to get on with. On the back of the sun solar activity, you might think that not been the best of times for aurora, but Denis Brzezinski again has seen some quite nice displays. This was on December 31st. What he was out doing, observing auroras rather than enjoying Hogmanay, I'm not too sure, but some really nice, a really nice display that night. And on January 18th, a much more quiescent arc in the north. Again, displaying what a tremendous night sky you get up in the far north of Scotland as well. I didn't really have too much to say about meteors, and I think Alex has probably said it all already. So the only thing I did note on meteors was this interesting composite from Richard Fleet. Richard is one of the active video meteor recorders, and has 6 cameras set up in his back garden to cover the whole sky. And this is a composite image he took of combining all of the meteor tracks that he recorded over the whole year from his 6 cameras. So it just shows what a huge number of meteors can be captured in a single year just by one observer. Moving on to the moon, there were some really nice images of the moon in the last few weeks. This is by Chris Hooker, who is near Abingdon. This is the Mare Humorum. Thank you. So that was on the 9th of January. Another one by Chris of the North Pole region, and Mare Serenatis. Chris Hooker uses a Orion Optics MAPCAS telescope, one of the ZWO cameras, and other filters for taking these images. And here's quite a nice image by David Scanlon on the 5th of January, a mosaic of the half moon. So coming up, we've got the new moon on the 28th and of January, 26th of February, and then full on the 11th of February and the 12th of March. So we can all go to the pub on those days. Venus and Mars have been putting on a splendid little display in the evening sky. Can't have missed Venus, I'm sure. This is a picture by Peter Mulligan in Sheffield on the 1st of January, the evening. Just a straightforward shot with a Canon DSLR, 5-second exposure on fixed tripod. Steve Knight in Newbury took this one with Mars, Neptune, the Moon and Venus all in the same frame. Of course, to get the planets, the Moon's hopelessly overexposed, but it shows that there's quite a nice selection of the planets available there to view, and this was on the 2nd of January. This is Venus itself, imaged by Ron Johnson, using his 10-inch SCT with the Barlow and the DMK imaging camera. And there has been some visual observers' reports of seeing some structure on the surface of Venus, though not much showing on Ron's picture. Over the next few weeks, Venus will still be around low in the west at sunset and before and after sunset, and the moon will be getting in the way again as well. So there'll become nice opportunities for close proximity pictures of Venus, Mars, and the moon. So this is the 31st of June, should be a nice photo opportunity. That's just it magnified up. And then the 28th of February, so it's about a month apart, of course. Jupiter, the main news from Jupiter is the Juno probe, which is heading for another close encounter with Jupiter on the 2nd of February. And we're hoping that we'll get a lot of interesting pictures back from Jupiter. The last close approach in December was a great success. I found this picture rather interesting. This is the North Pole the South Pole region of Jupiter, and lots of interesting structure and features to be seen there. There's been quite a lot of activity on the main disk of Jupiter as well. It's a selection of images from the Jupiter section, and there are some new outbreaks of activity there, so interesting to go and do some observing. It's not particularly high at the moment. This is 1st of February. It'll be due south at midnight in Virgo, not best placed. In fact, none of the planets are really best placed for observing over the next couple of years, really. Moving on to Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. Saturn is, again, it's very low, becoming visible in the morning sky. This is the sky on March 13th. It's never getting very high, making it a bit difficult for imaging. Neptune will have moved away into the twilight, and Uranus will still be visible in the evening sky for a couple of hours. Mars is close to Uranus on the 28th of February, so that would be quite an interesting chance to find Uranus if you've never seen it before, with Mars being so bright. The interesting thing about Uranus really was this observation of the rings of Uranus by amateur observers. This was the original observations by Marc Delcroix at the Pic de Midi Observatory, where they had access to the 1 metre telescope there. I know that David Arditi processed some of his old images and didn't manage to find the rings. I think Damien Peach did some processing and did find hints of the rings, and there's a few others where the jury's maybe a little bit out on whether they saw them or not. But it's really interesting to see that this sort of detail can be found by amateurs. Just as a side note, anyone know who this is? Yeah, that's right. So today is the anniversary of the death of John Couch Adams. Died in Cambridge, and his mathematical predictions led to the existence location of Neptune. Though of course there's some controversy over that with the French observations. Thanks to Brian Jones for pointing out that anniversary for me. Moving on to the comets, there's 3 brightish comets available or coming up over the next few months. 45P Honda, Nick told me how to pronounce the other 2 names, Myrkos Pagousakova. I did say to Nick that in deep sky we don't have any complicated names, and then I thought, yes, there's Gaiobadagian's Nebula, so I'll pass on that one perhaps. 45P's been around for a little while, and there's playing some really nice images of it. It's getting a bit low and difficult now. 2015 V2 Johnson is nice looking at the moment, and 41P Tuttle Giacobini Kresak is 16th magnitude, but is brightening and should become visible to the naked eye in April. So those should be good comets for the next few months. This is an image of 45P by Nick. May still be available in the first couple of weeks of February.
It's getting a lot better in February, so it's coming up in the morning sky quite rapidly in February.
Okay, so morning sky in February. I guess the full moon gets in the way towards the middle. This is another image from Gerald Raymond in South Africa. And this is Danilo Pivita from Rome in Italy. So obviously, I guess the southern observers get a much better crack at it than us further north. This is 2015 V2 Johnson. It's by Peter Carson, one of Peter's recent images, taken on the 2nd of January. It was around about 12th magnitude. And this is one from Dennis again. This is 41P Tuttle. again by Peter Carson. And as I said, yes, it's brightening. It should possibly become naked eye in April. I found this was an interesting observation. This is Comet 2017 A3. Well, the observation itself is very faint comet, Comet ELENIN. But this is the first amateur comet discovery of 2017. Amateur comet discoveries are pretty rare things these days, so interesting to see that amateurs can still do it. This is not the discovery image. This is an image by Eric Bryce-Sink, who's in Belgium, I think. But yeah, it's still interesting to see that the amateur observers can capture comets. Moving on to variable stars. Two main variable stars to look out for, since I seem to have ended up doing this regular January spot. Our Corona Borealis seems to be the thing that has been a theme through the past few years in the central part of the crown. Quite easy to find when it's bright, though most of the time it's pretty dim and below amateur detection. But this is the recent maximum. It wasn't particularly bright at this maximum, about magnitude 8 or so. It's levelling off at the moment. At its brightest, it's been around about magnitude 6, so it doesn't look like it's going to peak at that level this time round. But still worthwhile observing and making some magnitude estimates over the next few months whilst it's still available. Another one of interest to the variable star section is YZ Canceri. There was a call for observations from the University of Southampton, and in case there is an outburst and they want to observe through one of the satellites, and it has been varying dramatically. So if anyone's able to make observations of that, it would be appreciated. Last November, Ron Arbour found another supernova in AT 2016 INO, was its designation. And this one's quite unusual for Ron because it's quite far out from the centre of the galaxy. He seems to specialise in ones which are really close to the centres, but that was obviously an easy one for him to spot. And here's a follow-up observation by Dennis. I thought I'd just round off with a few recent deep sky observations, starting with variable nebulae. Grant Privet's been doing the rounds of the various variable nebulae that are about at the moment. So this is Heinz Variable Nebula NGC 1555, associated with T Tauri. This is McNeil's Nebula, which is the object at the top left here. There's M78, of course. And this is a variable nebula Monoceros V400, and it's this rather faint thing around about, it's easier on my screen actually, around about here, about the star here. And Fred Stevenson does an annual image of, he observes it more often than annually, but sends me an annual image of Hubble's variable nebula, NGC 2261, and this was the one he sent me on the 26th, or imaged on the 26th of December. Back in the, I think it was the November journal, or December journal, I put in a short item into the journal about open clusters in Auriga, and James Wakeman followed up with a few observations of the various Messier and NGC objects in Auriga, which was nice to see. Mike Scarisbrick took this nice image of NGC 4236. Is Mike still here? Yes. New member, welcome aboard, Mike. Thanks for sending the images. That was great to get them sent. And I didn't know Mike was going to be here today, though. This was already in the presentation. David Arditi makes an annual image of the Rosette Nebula as well, and sent this through towards the beginning of January 3rd, using a C11 telescope with the Hyperstar, and it's a really lovely image of the Rosette. David Davies in Cambridge spent a lot of time over the summer and autumn imaging the Bubble Nebula. And he did quite a bit of reprocessing, or a couple of iterations of processing, and came up with this rather lovely image of it in a Hubble-esque palette, which I think really renders it quite nicely. And this is an image of the California Nebula by Ian Cartwright. Ian observes from the Ayrshire coast up in Scotland, and took this in December 19th and 20th. Ian uses a Nikon DSLR camera for it. It's the astronomical DA8810A and Skywatcher 200 telescope, and get some really great images. And finally, as Jeremy mentioned, this is just the commercial break for the Deep Sky Section meeting, which is coming up on the 4th of March. This is where the PC doesn't render the page quite right as compared to the Mac does. But so we've got a full day's programme. Guy Hurst is going to talk about the Supernova Patrol programme. We've got a couple of astroimaging talks. Jonathan Blake's going to do something on photography capture and processing, and Greg Parker is going to do a talk on his Mini WASP wide camera system. He uses multiple telescopes and multiple cameras to create wide field views. Mark Radici's going to talk about doing visual observing from different parts of the world, and Steve Tonkin's going to do something on binocular deep sky observing. And our professional for the day is Philip Podziadlowski. I'll have to talk to him to find out how he really pronounces it.
Discover a comet.
From supernova to gamma ray bursts, so understanding the diversity of cosmic explosions, so that should be a really good talk. So that ends my Sky Notes. Good night, good observing, and I hope we have clear skies for the year ahead. Thank you.